that pulls at heartstrings, and that not every donor is going to be open to being their heartstrings tapped, but it's almost irresistible at some point, especially the enthusiasm and the description and even the verbiage that you use, Debbie. I mean, I'm familiar with the program. I've been there and so forth, but I mean, I can't even remember some of the verbiage that you use, but they just were spot on. And as soon as it came out of your mouth, I were like, yeah, that's way cool. That's a perfect description of it.
It's as though she's done this before or something.
For 19 years.
Yeah.
What is so compelling about Debbie? Like everybody that I've talked to in Choice and Aging says, well, I didn't really have time. I didn't know I really want to do it, but Debbie tapped me and I can't say no. So what do you think it is? And Debbie, just plug your ears if you're going to blush too much, but what does it that makes a compelling leader, right? Like somebody who inspires the community and inspires people to work harder, to give more, and to want to be connected.
And is that committed? I mean, not just the 19 years, but just, I mean, even one of the first times I was over there and was walking through, she wasn't just going around and pointing out to what, the Persian people or this group or, what therapy was. I mean, every employee, as well as every person every client that was there that day, they wanted to, and she did. She gave them a hug, she touched them, patted them on the shoulder, and so forth. I mean, it's real obvious, as you take a tour of the facility, but also just on Zoom just now, whatever you said, Deb, was just spot on in regards to the totality of what Choice and Aging has to offer, and the need that it fills for not just your current clients, but for society. Right. I mean, it's almost shameful that we don't have a Choice and Aging in every metropolitan area of the country, if not the world.
So would you frame for, if this does go live, frame it for us, like, who are you? What is the Thomas J. Long Foundation, the spend down, and then why did you designate your money to Choice and Aging? And just think about, as you answer that, like, what do you want people to hear? Like, I'm sure that you want others to be more generous, just as I do. Everybody wants to anybody who is generous wants to see the joy of giving and see the impact that they can have on giving. Do you
Absolutely.
Share that? Or like, what would you want to translate?
Absolutely. Yeah. Let me make a couple things clear. Sid and I were on the board of trustees for the Thomas Long Foundation. She for almost 40 years, for me for about 10 years. And it has wound down and we wrapped up in 2018. So it's over and done with. And during much of those 40 years, there was a point in time when we did 400 grants a year to almost anybody in Contra Costa and Alameda County that was a legitimate 501(c)(3). And we gave them something. It might be 20,000, 50,000. The higher end was usually 100,000. So, and the target during those years in terms of our budget was what was required, about giving 5% of the corpus away. That concept of spending more than the 5% came into play. But also we realized that, and there's more work when you give more aggressively. If you'd always given to the food bank and it hasn't changed, and they always gave 100,000, a staff member double checked that they were still a 501(c) and kind of checked off, boom, boom, boom. Yeah, they're good. And there was nothing to it. But if all of a sudden now you're going to give $1 million to an organization, that's a lot of effort. And we had to hire not only additional staff, we had to hire new staff who had a different mindset. And one of the rules that we put down is if we were going to do a grant, and it had to be big, if it was going to be a grant for 5 million or more, a board member had to get involved, such that whether it was in 3 months or 6 months, that proposal was delivered to the board. Not just a staff member would come in and say, Choice and Aging is a good thing. But one of the board members, and I mean, we had to like go out and meet the people. We'd have to be able to explain to our fellow trustees, what other foundations in the Bay Area were giving. What's the background of the staff? What's the background of the director? What's the background of the trustees? How, if we give this and it's a $10 million thing, who's going to give the other 5 million, or how they're going to raise that? So you just do more work when you're going to give a bigger check away. It was the same thing in the venture capital business. If, a couple of guys asked for a couple of $1 million, it wasn't nearly as much work for us as somebody was asking for 20 and 30 and $50 million to get their startup going.
Yeah.
So as we did that, and we had to also prioritize what nature of nonprofits we would give to, and it turned out to be education, disability causes, and women's causes. We spent down. So the reason I'm giving you that background, Lindsay, is that our giving in the last 2 years, and the big gift that we gave to Choice and Agent for the capital campaign is not from the Thomas Long Foundation, because it's gone and finished. And with Long's Drugs no longer in the Western states, and the Long Foundation gone, I'm not so sure it even adds to the conversation, even as we talk, that we gave. So, and then what Sid and I did is created the Twanda Foundation, which is just basically our own personal giving, and we just didn't want to have our particular names associated with it. So back to your point, what motivates us is nonprofits that we have personal interest in, either the subject matter, like women's causes, like disabled causes, like seniors, and then and again, this is a direct correlation to, like I say, in the venture capital firm, there's a lot of nonprofits, and maybe in the realm of the things that we like to give to, and I assume this is true for all donors, that they might like to give to disabled causes or students that drop out and so forth. But there's many nonprofits that do those kind of things, any subject matter that you find. And in the end, and again, this is where it relates to the venture capital firm, we saw lots of young people that often had good ideas and put good software together and needed the money from the venture capital firms. But in the end, we never funded the idea, and we never funded the market. We funded the principles, the people, and confidence and trust in them. Ditto for what we do with Twanda. I mean, there's organizations that have come to us, and we look at them and they're kind of doing the right thing, and they get other grants and so forth. But we just talk to the individual, the lead director, usually, and just don't have a sense of confidence or a sense of their passion in the particular field, or that they're in. I mean, to them, it's just a job in some cases. I mean, Debbie, this isn't a job for Debbie. This is her life. This is her passion. And, I hope she's well paid because she deserves it. But frankly, she probably worked for free. I mean that because it is her passion, and in some regards, it's that kind of passion, that kind of commitment and it's in the subject matter of the things we want to give to that makes us want to give. So I would think most donors would feel the same way, but it takes a little bit of their time to get to know both that particular nonprofit as well as that particular director, and to hear that pitch. And if you hit them cold turkey, it's like they know the ask is coming. So somehow we have to start the conversation and ask about their needs, and then somewhere have them see the elevator pitch from Debbie and or the brochure, or all of us learn a little bit more so we can make that same pitch.
Right.
And some of us are better some of us are better at it than others.
Yes.
And I don't think anybody can be as good as Debbie is at it, and I'm not awesome. Trying to flatter. I have no need to do that. I have been I've seen these 300 or 400 nonprofits over the last 10 years that the Thomas Long Foundation gave to, and some of them were analytical. They were good administrators. They had good staff. They hired well. But I mean, you talk to them, they might have well been talking about styrofoam than the business. They just didn't have the passion and so forth. So it does take a special skill set in this field, and for donors to see that their money will be well utilized and that contributed to this this capital campaign, they need to hear that elevator pitch. But it can't be the first thing we throw at them.
Right. Right. Debbie, do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
I was loving that. Yeah, no, and I think you're right, Hank. I think that, to Lindsay's earlier question about like why give to choice and aging, and why Debbie, you were having a conversation about leaders. I think for some of us we can't help it. It's just, I mean, this is my love. You're right. It is my job. Let's
Your
be
life
clear.
purpose. I mean, is it fair to say it's your life's purpose? Part of, one of?
But I think very few people have that opportunity in their life where what they find to do in their day and earn their income and be able to pay their bills actually speaks to their soul.
Right.
And for me, it was that same concept that we're doing with our preschoolers, where we're busting ageism before it can take root. I had that experience as a teenager working at the Motion Picture and Television Fund retirement home. And I had like 82 grandparents. And I absolutely fell in love with them. And when 9/11 life happened, I went to university, I lived in Hungary, like all these things happened. And then 9/11 happened. And I did this sort of inventory of my life. And like, if that was me having to jump out of a building and my life was flashing before my eyes, would I be okay with where I am in my life right now? And I was like, no, I am missing my oldies and I need to get back into that work. And that's why I came back to this. And it just is it's so everything that speaks to me. And I know it doesn't speak to everybody, but the concepts should. There's no reason that we should be carving any humans out of what we all get as dignity and independence in our lives. Like at what age do you stop deserving that? And our society is built like there is a time in your life where you stop deserving that. And so even if it doesn't speak to somebody in the same way it speaks to me, like some people love children, some people love pets, some people, people have different, as Hank was talking about, different passions, different things that speak to them. But just as a basic human being, we should never carve anybody out to that right to dignity.
With this latest valuable episode, we'd love to thank you for joining us on the Creating Community for Good podcast. If you found today's show valuable, simply visit our website, creatingcommunityforgood.com, to leave a review, as well as to get access to additional resources and relevant links from this show. Stay tuned for more episodes.